Welcome to Garage Gym Athlete Ask Me Anything. It's pretty simple. I'll be answering questions from the thousands of athletes that follow our daily programming. If you have a question or topic you want submitted, go to garagegymathlete.com/AMA. Let's get started. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. Jerred Moon here with Joe Courtney. What's up, Joe?
What's going on, man?
Not much. Doing some AMAs. Seems like all the AMAs these days are from some variation of Steven or Stefan or
maybe there's just like an unknown anonymous, like the anonymous now is just Steven.
Yeah, everyone's just going to submit their question and say they're Steven.
Yes.
But we're going with it. That's what the name says. So the question is from Steven, is there a benefit to working more on hypertrophy and then strength, or vice versa? Let's be honest, everyone wants to be big and strong. What do you think, Joe?
For if there's a benefit for hypertrophy and strength?
So what he's saying is like, it's almost kind of like, should you lose fat and then try and gain muscle, or should you do them at the same time? And I think that's what he's asking. So should you try and gain some strength? Because we covered this in a study, right, with the kind of the difference between strength and hypertrophy. Mm-hmm. And so he's asking, should you do some muscle growth work and then some strength work, or should you do them at the same time? Do you have an opinion on it?
So I think it depends on where you're starting from and what your training is. If you are absolutely brand new to training and weightlifting, I think you probably could use some hypertrophy because you're not going to have a ton of muscle to work with. And hypertrophy is going to help you build that muscle so that you can get stronger. Also, doing more hypertrophy if you're brand new will help you to, I guess, find a better mind muscle connection to activate and use those muscles more. And just that, as I said, muscle contraction practice, so that when you do start to lift heavier versus more reps, you can access it better. So I think if you're brand new, hypertrophy should be worked in early on and more than heavy lifting. But as you progress more, if you've already been training, you've already done some strength work in the past, then maybe you've done more hypertrophy work and you actually need to do more strength work and dial back the hypertrophy and the volume and vice versa. And then maybe if you hit a plateau, swap.
Yeah, I have nothing to say. Joe nailed it perfectly. No, I do agree. I fully agree with you. So it kind of does depend on your starting point, but a lot of times, because if you're overweight, let's just say very overweight, you're probably not that concerned about gaining muscle. You're more concerned with losing fat. And the people who typically ask these questions are on the skinnier side, maybe like a guy with a really fast metabolism who wants to gain some muscle. And it's kind of torn because pulling a really heavy deadlift is cool, but that's strength. But having bigger muscles is cool, because people want that. And so, and I get both of them. And so if you need to pack on some muscle, that a lot of times that can be the answer to gaining more strength. And so if you kind of like, I feel like you can max out your genetic potential. This is kind of my view of it. You can kind of max out, like if you are a 5'10" male who weighs 165 pounds, like there's a certain level of strength that you can get to. And I'm not talking about like perfectly maxed out, because there are dudes like professional powerlifters in the bottom on the lighter weight classes who can lift a ridiculous amount of weight. But let's just say without being a professional powerlifter, like you're going to kind of get tapped out. You're going to start hitting plateaus on the strength. And really the only way to continue to gain strength is going to be to gain mass. So to work on that hypertrophy thing. And to be honest, that is a power lifter's answer to strength, gaining more strength always. It's mass movement, mass. So go gain more weight if you want to move more weight. That's what power lifters will always tell you. But it is definitely true. There's a lot of truth to that. So I do think that you should cycle between the two. One, I think hypertrophy in the long term, and we always take a long-term approach, is the safest way to do strength training. I just think people need to be mindful about getting into the aesthetics world and like how that can affect your psyche. You don't always want to be chasing numbers on the scale or bicep size and stuff. But I do think if you put on some more mass through hypertrophy, that you will be able to gain more strength. So it does help to cycle back and forth from those. And the biggest takeaway I always want people to know when we have these conversations, and I say it all the time, just know that there is a difference between the two. A lot of people, I feel like they don't. They just think weightlifting is weightlifting, or let's just say lifting weights is lifting weights. And that's not the case. You can get stronger without gaining an ounce. You can gain muscle. And typically, when you're gaining muscle, you're going to get a little bit stronger, but it's still not going to be, it's not a 500-pound back squat strong. It's not like big weights strong. It's just a little bit stronger. And so that's why like professional bodybuilders are typically not, um, they have these massive muscles, right? But they couldn't place, you know, middle of the pack at a powerlifting meet, most of these guys, because it's just very different training. So as long as you know the difference in there, cycling back and forth, I think you'll be good to go.
Yeah, I think in the 3 or 4 years, I've gained like within 10 pounds, but I think I've added about 50 or so pounds to my back squat, 30 or so pounds to my press, things like that. So that's just adding strength. But I think there comes a point where I know where I get to a sticking point, and I think I need to I know I need to add in more hypertrophy and stuff, which is why I do like sexy Saturdays and stuff like that, because I need to balance that out to add it, because the most work I do is actual strength work versus hypertrophy.
Yeah, I think I'm a really good let's say case study for this. Like if I mean, Joe, you've seen me in person, but if anyone else were to meet me in person, I I look fairly athletic, but you wouldn't think I'm that strong. You wouldn't be like,
Yeah.
okay, that dude's like freaking strong. And I'm not saying I'm crazy strong, but I'm most of the time I'm a lot stronger than people think than I am, especially with like the squat and the deadlift. Because I did hypertrophy stuff for so long. I'm just kind of over it. I don't think it's bad. We still program it. I think it's great for people.
Hmm.
It's actually hard for me to execute when it is programmed because it's so boring to me because I've done it for so long. But I'm a lot stronger than people give me credit for just from looking at me. But if I were to do a bunch of hypertrophy work and looked a different way, people would be like, oh, that dude's really strong. So they are very different. And you just kind of have to know what your goals are and what you like doing too. Like I just don't enjoy hypertrophy training anymore. I'm sure I'll cycle back around at some point, but it's just not that fun for me.
Yeah, just on occasion.
Yeah.
Sexy Saturdays, man.
Yeah, I did remember I did a sexy Saturday a few
Oh
weeks
yeah,
ago and I
yeah.
couldn't even move my biceps afterwards. So seems like I need to be doing a little bit more of it, but I just don't. Cool. All right, that's it for this one, guys. If you have a question, go to garagegymathlete.com/AMA and we will answer your question. And if you're on YouTube watching us right now, make sure you subscribe to the channel. You can even ask us a question in the comments if you don't feel like going to that link. And then give us a thumbs up. And then if you are on the podcast, 5-star review, positive comment will really help us out. But that's it for this one, guys. Thanks for watching or listening. I hope you enjoyed today's Ask Me Anything episode. So one more time, if you want to submit a question, topic, or idea, you can do so at garagegymathlete.com/AMA. And hey, while you're there, if you haven't already, sign up for Garage Gym Athlete membership. We are the best community and programming on the internet. I dare you to try and prove me wrong.